Welcome back, guys, to No Notions Travel. I am back again with my cousin Shane. We are back for part two of our discussions on our travels. This video, we are going to be talking about our trips to New York. Shane, thanks a million for coming on with me.
No problem at all, Roma.
Yeah, long time no see. We are going to be talking about our two trips to New York, which were complete polar opposites. We flew over for the first time in 2015. We were both 18, and then we went back over in 2017-18. We were there for New Year's in one of the coldest winters New York had ever seen in 100 years, I think it was.
I think it was 100 years, yeah.
We had lots of plans, and we will talk about how a lot of them changed on this video. But what we will do first is talk about our first trip when we went over. So Shane, I know it was one of your first times going away without your parents, which is
100%, yeah.
Normally a big kind of it's a big step for a lot of people. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so before we went to America, the only time I probably was away on my own would have been on a school tour, and even that isn't really on your own because the teachers are basically doing everything for you, so you don't really have the time. Yeah. So it was the first time probably going away without the parents, and the fact it was America probably was a small bit done because everyone is like, oh, we have to go through customs, whatever, but definitely managed it. If you're going through Dublin Airport, it's all laid out perfectly. It's easy for like anyone could. If I can do it, literally, I'm sure anyone could do it. Like, so basically, yeah. Once you get through customs, you're fine. Like, yeah. So basically, the fact it was my first time going away on my own, I probably was a bit nervous. Even when I got there, it took me a few days to settle. But once you're in, you start going around seeing stuff, you're fine. It's 100%. Like,
it's a big distraction. It's not like you're kind of sitting thinking about the fact you're not at home.
Yeah, you're not going to be thinking about mom and dad while you're over in New York, like, so.
Yeah, I hope not, anyways.
No, right, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. So when we went over to New York, both times we actually stayed with my aunt Noreen. If she is watching this, hello, and we love you. We've always stayed with Noreen. Anytime I've gone to New York, we've stayed in Noreen, but there are some relatively good options for staying in New York, which I will link in the blog post and maybe down in the description on this video. So with that, it was really, really handy because we had someone who knew New York City like the back of her hand. So it did help a lot for subways, but the subways are very easy to manage. Definitely if you have Google Maps, 100%. We did manage to do it both trips. We went out by ourselves. You know, we didn't have to kind of have somebody who knew the way the whole time. It is a fairly easy city to get around because it's literally done in a grid. So
yes.
It's all squares.
Square and rectangles.
Yeah. Easy. So when we were there in 2015, we did a infamous hop on, hop off bus. I know I'm like a broken record, but it was a great way to see the city. And you know, New York is so big as well that there are so many different routes. So I would recommend taking a look at the stops beforehand to make sure that you know exactly which one you want to be on. There's no point in taking the Harlem one if you've no interest in going out to the Harlem one. The other activities that we did were we went to the 9/11 museum. So Shane, do you want to talk a little bit about our activities that we got up to while we were in New York the first time?
Yeah, so we definitely did plenty anyways, but the main thing we did was probably sightseeing, and then the main probably obviously the hop on, hop off bus. Square facility, go all around the city, get on wherever you want, get off wherever you want. It's probably one of the best things you could do for value for money. And then obviously one of the main things that people will be doing when they go to New York is the 9/11 museum. It's I think personally it's definitely something someone has to do at some stage if you do go to New York. There are parts of it that is sad. Obviously, it's the nature of what you're going to see, but it is definitely worth seeing as well, just to pay respect to the people that lost their lives. But yeah, 100% would recommend the 9/11 museum.
We went to a museum of moving image out in Astoria, which is actually in the neighborhood of my auntie, and it's not really on any of the like top lists. It's not really on TripAdvisor, like the top 10 TripAdvisor, but it was such a hidden gem. There was all the like the robotics from movies, the masks, the costumes, everything. If you are a movie buff, 100% worth it. It's closed on Tuesdays though. I got that. I did not know that information before I went in 2014, and I found out the hard way. So if you're going, remember that bit. We ended up going a lot around the city, just a lot of walking about. We went to like Central Park. I mean, the weather was beautiful as well, which definitely helped. We went to see a Broadway show. We kind of ticked all of the boxes, really. When it came to like, we are tourists, where do we need to go? And there is plenty to do as well at like 18 when you are young, because again, with the drinking laws in America, you can't drink till you're 21, and you really cannot drink till you're 21 over there. There's no skirting around it. So we ate out most of the time. Food and drink was a big expenditure for us. We probably spent the most in like the Hard Rock Cafe and those kinds of restaurants. Yeah. Hard Rock Cafe is one of them. You will hear me mention it in every single video. Hard Rock Cafe is 100% worth it to see, because just the stuff that's in it, all of them, like, it's incredible. So the second time then that we went, we've always flown into New York as well. Just whenever we are going on a trip to America, we always fly to New York. We fly to Newark, actually. It's in New Jersey, but it's essentially New York, and the flights are always cheaper there than they are to JFK. So it's a good thing to know. And there is a bus as well from Newark into the city center. So I was actually in America before Shane both times. I was over visiting other family first. So the second time, Shane got the bus from Newark Airport to the center of New York City. I think it was it Grand Central Station?
I think it was. It was. Anyways, the bus was literally straight outside our terminal when we got off the plane. It was absolutely ideal. Like, I can't remember the price, but it was cheap. Definitely cheap.
Yeah. So that trip, again, you will have heard us saying in the last video that we did, we also did Philadelphia, but it was so ridiculously cold. We started our trip the 28th of December. So we were in the height of it, and there was snow blizzards and snowstorms. And our plan originally in New York was to go to Times Square for New Year's Eve. We were going to brave it, start standing there at like 12 o'clock in the day and be there until midnight. Shane had adult nappies packed. We were ready to go.
I was packing like...
We were ready to go. We were ready to do it. And then it just kept getting colder and colder and colder. So we ended up finding somewhere else to go. There was a park in Brooklyn that was doing a firework display, and they had music and a band set up, and we ended up going there. We didn't have to go until about 10 p.m. and we kind of stood around and waited for it, and it was a lot easier to do than Times Square. We were absolutely frozen. It was minus 12 to minus 15 degrees. We've never known cold like it, I don't think. Would I do it again? Probably not. I ticked it off the list, and I don't think I'd do it again. I don't know about you.
Did it once, that's it. Like, my feet were literally ice blocks by the end of that. I could barely walk back to the subway.
Yeah, and then we couldn't find the subway station. That was the other problem.
It's freezing.
So ended up, we got back to Noreen's, and there is very depressing photos of us trying to eat sandwiches before we fell asleep. It was like 3 a.m. Complete shells. It was probably the soberest we've ever had on New Year's Eve. It was definitely an experience. 100%. We ended up meeting a few people there that we both still follow on Instagram. Well, I know I do anyways. So if you guys are watching and you remember meeting us, yeah, it was definitely a night that we have not forgotten. So there was a few other things that we did, but the cold was really such an issue for us that we couldn't do anything outside at all. Everything had to be indoors. And even at that rate, we were still like wrapped up so much that we were like Michelin men walking around like museums and stuff. The second
two
time,
jackets on most days, like.
exactly, yeah. The second time around, we ended up getting the New York pass cards. So there's a company that do them for all the different cities around the world for tourism, and we got the 3-day pass for New York. You can get them based on different lengths of stay that you're there, but we got a 3-day pass and we fit everything that we wanted to do into the 3 days. Basically you pay a certain amount for the card, you go and pick it up in Madame Tussauds in New York, and then it gets you into most of the attractions. So it saves you having to pay every single time, but it does end up saving you a lot of money, and it lets you skip the lines. So our very first day that we were there, we went up the very top of the Empire State Building with that New York pass. We did not think about how cold it was going to be.
Like Everest up there. Oh my God, I'll never forget it. There was a wind. It was colossal.
It would cut you like a knife, 100%.
Worth it though, the view was class.
The view was incredible. We got to see New York City completely lit up at night. We actually got in the line for it in the daytime, thinking it would still be bright by the time we got up there, and we were not prepared for the lines. So just keep that in mind if you are thinking to do it in 2 hours, that you'll probably be in the line for about 2 hours.
Bring food.
Definitely bring food. Definitely bring food. And there's a lot of security, as there is with most things in America if you're going into anything. So just be prepared as well that there's a lot of like scanners and that kind of thing. We also went to the Museum of Modern Art, and that was with the New York pass. We went to the Natural History Museum, the one that Night at the Museum is filmed in, which was a cool experience. We actually ended up in there like an hour and a half before closing, so we were kind of sprinting around the place to see everything. It is huge, so don't expect to just like go in and see it in like an hour and a half. It's not like the one in Dublin. We packed that trip as well.
Wedge.
Yeah. We ate in the Hard Rock Cafe again. So from a financial point of view, it's definitely feasible as a student. Again, we were both times, one was we were just after leaving secondary school, and the second trip we were in the middle of our like college winter break. So we did not have that much money to spend, but we were still making use of the time that we had off. I will do a cost overview of New York with the New York pass and stuff. I think the next time we go, we may try and go in like the fall when the weather is not really, really, really hot or really cold.
Definitely, yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of a summary of our 2 New York trips. I will put all of the information in and a lot of the videos and stuff. One final question I've been asking everybody before we go: when we are able to fly again, where's the first place you're going to travel to?
Oh jeez, I'm genuinely thinking about going back to America again. So hopefully California or something. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see where the music takes us. I'm praying that we actually get somewhere.
I know everybody is just saying the same thing at this stage, but we will get going again. We will sit in plane seats again. Actually, the second time we flew home, we ended up getting we got upgraded our seats, not to first class, but we got extra space, which was great because Shane is 6'4", so we needed the extra space. It was very helpful.
Thanks are forgiven for it.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for coming on, and guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe down below and check out the website, and we upload a new video every week.